AB5 is the new ABC test in California, also known as the Dynamex decision or Dynamex decision. It's a court case decided in 2018 that then resulted in a new bill, AB5, in California in 2019, which basically turned the whole independent contractor world in California on its head because it is a bill that is sort of far-reaching and affects when you can and cannot classify people you hire as independent contractors. Meaning, if they can't be an independent contractor, they got to be an employee, which comes with payroll and withholdings and expenses and benefits and rules. So it's a big deal. A lot of companies built themselves on hiring independent contractors, and now they might not be able to do that. So the important thing to mention, I've got a series of videos on AB5, the new ABC test, because the bill was actually drafted in a way where it creates a ton of exemptions. It is not a blanket rule applying to all workers in California. Instead, it is a rule that has specific carve-outs for specific industries and specific roles. It is a total mess, and it creates a lot of analysis, but the point that I'm trying to make and trying to illustrate here is don't freak out. It doesn't automatically mean everyone you have as a contractor needs to be an employee, because it depends highly on what they're doing for you, what you do, and also how frequently they do it. There's a lot that goes into it. So I'm going to touch on, I have another video that touches on the professionals that are exempted from AB5, meaning they don't have to satisfy the ABC test. Those are things like lawyers, dentists, architects, insurance brokers, securities, and financial advisors. Those are people that are professionally licensed by the state. Now, what I'm going to talk about today is the professional services exemptions under AB5. I'm not going to talk about all of them. I'm going to talk about the ones that I most frequently deal with my clients. And it's important to draw the distinction that even though it's professional services, these are not the same as what I mentioned as in another video that are professional licensees from the state. These are what the bill decided to confusingly call professional services that aren't necessarily services that people need to be licensed by the state for. So that's confusing. What the hell am I talking about? Let's talk about a few of the exemptions that fall under professional services. So one of them is going to be a marketing professional, someone that provides marketing services for your company. Sounds pretty wishy-washy, right? Totally is. So there's some confusion right off the bat, but rest assured that if you hire someone to maybe do social media for your company, maybe they fall into this. Now, another one is going to be a human resources administrator. That has an exemption as well and may fall outside of the ABC test. A travel agent, usually a travel agent is going to be a professional service that falls out of the ABC test. And keep in mind, when I say falls outside of the ABC test, that means that they are actually analyzed either by a new set of factors that this bill identifies for that particular role, or they are evaluated by the old test called Borrello, which is an 8 to 11 factor test, much more flexible because it's a sliding scale and a lot easier to satisfy, meaning a lot easier to satisfy the burden of that person is validly a contractor, not an employee. So when I'm going through these exemptions, they are governed not by the ABC test, a very strict and stringent test, but either by a new set of factors or the old set of factors, the Borrello test, that's easier to satisfy. All right, who else? Who else falls into these professional service exemptions? Well, another one is going to be a graphic designer. Depending on what you do and what you're hiring them to do in the graphic design world, they may fall outside of the ABC test. A grant writer, inexplicably, that's one that they chose. Chances are some grant writing association lobbied hard and got that exemption in there. That's how this bill worked and how most bills work. Whoever, squeaky wheel, whoever made the most noise got exemptions, whether it makes sense or not. Another one, fine artist, without a definition of what fine artist is, so you can see that there might be some confusion there. The reason I'm highlighting this confusion throughout is because it's important that you know that this stuff isn't black and white. You should consult a lawyer or an expert on this so that you can determine, based on your risk aversion and what they evaluate of that role you'd like to hire, what your chances are of receiving some type of employment audit and getting in trouble for having someone misclassified as a contractor when they should have been an employee or not. So remember, these exemptions are to allow you to contract them and not make them an employee and have that additional expense of having an employee. And also, a side note, I am all for employee rights, benefits, people getting paid appropriately. However, this bill is sloppily written, in my opinion, to where it doesn't necessarily have the clarity, so it's creating a mess, not just benefits for workers. So, what's another exemption under this rule? Another one is going to be a payment processing agent. For whatever reason, that received an exemption. Another one is going to be a licensed esthetician or electrologist or manicurist or barber or cosmetologist. They have their own specific factors now that allow you to categorize them as a contractor. Another one is going to be a freelance writer, editor, newspaper cartoonist. Those are now receiving their own specific exemption. Photojournalists, photographers, they have their own specific exemption. These all fall under the professional services exemption of AB5, meaning that they are exempted from the ABC test and are either governed by Borello or their own new set of factors on whether or not they can be an employee or a contractor. So, got a few other videos on AB5, this new ABC test, because as you can tell, a lot to talk about here. This one was focused on the professional services exemption. This was not an exhaustive list of who falls under that. So definitely, if you are concerned about AB5 and how it applies to your business, reach out to me or another lawyer that has experience in this that can help you evaluate and give you an assessment of, yes, contractor, no, employee, and then what that means for you and how to be compliant and then hiring that person. Hope this was helpful. Have a good day.